Counsel Capone.
Here.
Counsel Della Sola.
Here.
Counsel DeFlorio. Here. Counsel DePiero.
Here.
Counsel Mangan.
Here.
Counsel Matusky.
Here.
Counsel McKinnon.
Here.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Here.
Counsel Palatano.
Here.
Counsel Simonelli. Counsel Hanlon.
Present.
10 members present, Mr. President.
Quorum being present. Would the audience please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Clerk will read the first item on the agenda. Yes. May I ask the audience again to please rise for a moment of silence. We have Chief Butler of the Fire Department, his mother has passed away, and also Raul Concalves, who's a police officer, his father passed away since our last meeting. So if you would, a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Okay. Okay. Okay, first item is public participation. Do we
Make a
have
motion
anything?
to open public participation.
Motion made and seconded to open for public participation. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Is there anything on the,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a Mr. D. Olivio, D. Oliveira.
Mr. Oliver? Yes, would you want to come forward, please? Just have a seat, and just give us your name and address. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Valdeci de Oliveira. I call on the house on 332 Broadway with my brother, and we are here regarding petition number 53. We kindly ask this petition to be moved into the committee because we have a say regarding this license. I represent also the neighbors at the School Street, and we ask you to please move this license to the committee.
Yeah, I got it, yeah. Okay, no, thank you for your words. We do not debate what you say, but we have taken them down, okay? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate you being here. Okay. Anybody else?
I also have Antonio Dell'Icona, Cono.
Okay, sir? Please, if you would, just identify yourself and your address.
Antonio Dell'Icano, 330 Broadway Street, Everett.
Okay.
I am a guest too because my neighbor has a complaint. I have a complaint. People sit on my stairs all the time, and they scare away my business.
This is the same item?
The same, yes.
Same item, okay. Okay, thank you very much, okay. Oh, and it's okay, sir. Just again, sir, please identify yourself and your address.
My name is Paulo de Oliveira. I live at 332 Broadway, and I'm over here for the same case, this the petition 53, and I would like to ask you to send this petition to the committee, to be appreciated for the committee.
Okay. Anything else? We are at that, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Chairman, I have the name and addresses in case we need to send a notice out.
Thank you.
I would be
Okay.
more than glad to have. If there are no other speakers, I make a motion to close public participation.
Motion made second to close public participation. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, if we could please take items 2 through 50 collectively in favorable action on the orders.
Choose through
Rule
50.
50.
Yes, Mr. I got, no, Council McLaughlin was first.
Mr. President, thank you. I personally happen to know most of these appointees this evening. I do have some written questions that I'd like to ask the mayor's chief of staff if he would accept these questions and maybe get back to us with an answer in 2 weeks. Just some technicality questions, not about any individual. I think most of the individuals on this, if not all of them, we all know and have done a good job serving the city of Everett for many years. A few handful I didn't know, but spoke to some of my colleagues this evening. I do have some technicality questions of how the boards and commissions are run, the formality. We've never had the opportunity to vote on this many appointments before. We've never had this many people come before us for appointments tonight. I actually technically believe that we have to send this to committee or suspend Rule 20 before voting on this evening. Sorry. I'm sorry. So if I could ask the mayor's chief of staff if he could either come before us and accept these questions, or I can do it after, whatever you'd like to do, Mr. President.
It's whatever the board wants.
Ask the mayor's chief of staff to come up for a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Okay, and second?
Second that?
Second, move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sir? Kevin?
Good evening. Kevin O'Donnell, Chief of Staff.
Mr. O'Donnell, thank you for appearing before us this evening. We're in a unique situation because we have so many appointments before us this evening. I don't believe this has ever occurred before with this many individuals. I do have 5 or 6 questions that I'm not going to ask you to answer this evening because you haven't seen them before, so I'd like to submit them to you and ask you to come back in 2 weeks and maybe just give us an outline of these questions. They're more, again, formality type questions, not about any one individual or appointment. So if I could submit these questions to you, if that's okay with the board, to see if I could get a response in 2 weeks on. But
Oh, certainly.
they're all pretty simple, four right questions. Mr. O'Donnell, one question that I do have is the number of years that are in the appointments. We're supposed to have a 1, 2, 3 system in place. I noticed several of these appointments have the same number of years that are being appointed for in the individual board. Is that okay to have, or is it supposed to be a staggered system? Do you know?
Yeah, there's some that are required to be staggered. We've done it all. I was working in conjunction with the clerk, and we both worked in conjunction with Mass General laws as well for the multiple member bodies that require the staggered terms. So we would do more research, but I don't believe the ones that are not staggered, that it would be a requirement.
Okay, and again, I have no real issue with any member here before us this evening. Just would like to know what their responsibilities are. What do they actually do in each specific committee or commission? Are there any members that are currently on a board that's not being reappointed? Or is everybody being reappointed this evening? Again, you don't have to answer this, sort of just an outline of what I gave to you this evening. If you could come back in 2 weeks, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, that I will. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. President. On this. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, actually, I was just going to clarify about Rule 20, that, you know, I feel the same way. Everybody on this list that I've seen, I know they're quality people. I was just going to suggest that if we were going to vote on it, we'd need to suspend Rule 20. So that's it. I have no questions.
So I get it right. Are we holding this over for the next meeting, or are we, what are we doing here? We're voting tonight? I'm going through you, Mr. President, to the sponsor. I just want to know what we're doing. Okay. Okay, so.
So I'd make a motion to lay these over for 2 weeks and as the chairman to come, the chief of staff to come forward with the answers, and so that we don't have to suspend Rule 20. It states in our charter that we should lay these over for 2 weeks, I believe.
Mr. Chairman,
Come on.
I
Was
have
your
a
My
motion
motion,
to hold it
to
over
be
for 2
truthful,
weeks?
is to get a clarification on Rule 20, because my understanding of Rule 20 is that we do need to hold these over for 2 weeks. And if that's the case, then we should hold them over for 2 weeks
Don't
and,
think
and
we
vote
do.
on it in 2 weeks.
Mr.
Hold on for a
President,
minute.
can we get clarification?
Hold on for a
from the
minute,
clerk?
hold on.
Route 20 immediately sends it to the committee. However, it is a rule and can be suspended.
Okay. Okay, all right, okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, this has been before us in the last 3 meetings, maybe even 4 meetings. There are people in this chamber that are being appointed tonight, one to the Housing Board, one to the Licensing Board. Last week, we had the Council on Aging. By the way, a lot of these boards don't even get paid. I know the Council of Aging doesn't get paid. These people are dedicated to this community. They're senior citizens. They've been on this. And, you know, if he has questions, the councilman, I don't know, maybe I could help him out after the meeting, but truthfully, in fairness to these appointees, they've been on the calendar now for the last 3 meetings. Register of Voters, Licensing Board, Historical Commission, which I know doesn't get paid, Council on Aging, Conservation Commission. I mean, these people are all Everett residents. They live here. They're donating their time and commitment to the city of Everett, and to delay this any longer would really be unfair to them. There was 3 meetings ago, there was a group of people up here that are still on this list. These are the mayor's appointees. Some are for 1 year, some are for 2 years, some are for 3 years. There's a gentleman here tonight that's going to be on the Housing Board as a union rep. Now, I had that position. I was fortunate enough to be appointed to that position by the mayor, and it hasn't been filled for the last year, I think it is, since my term ended. So we need a union rep on the Housing Board
I know. What's
representing the union interest for the employees and for the tenants. So to delay this, you know, and I know his intentions are good, but the truth of the matter is, you know, we've got, you know, we have a new charter, we have a new council now. Let's start to streamline some of these council meetings, to just delay it and delay it. I mean, there's 50 appointees here, and at least 40 of them I've seen before. Most of them are renewals. Everybody here, everybody knows, these are Everett people, committed to our community. So to delay it, I can't see that. So if there's a motion to suspend Rule 20, Mr. President, to be able to vote on these appointments tonight, I'll be in favor of that. Thank you.
I have Councilor DeFlorio.
Excuse with the customary thanks. If nobody else has any questions for Mr. O'Donnell?
So moved. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you.
Councilor Napolitano.
Thank you. Just so we can have some clarification, and so I can just provide my colleague with some history. Part of this is the last session we identified that appointments had been not being done in a timely manner. We were less concerned about the cause as to getting the problem resolved. So now, the last couple of weeks, the reason why we have seen these resubmitted on our agenda is because there was some questions about the staggered terms, the format that they were being submitted. So this is the reason why, and again, this is from my colleagues' information, is why they have been up here and not been approved prior to this meeting. Now, the idea is that, again, as we've come up to the conclusion from our previous session, is that we're not looking to short-track anybody. Okay, we want to make sure everybody is appointed. These are good people. I don't see one person on here I have an issue or a question with. But if we short-track this and circumvent our own rules, we lend the suggestion to other people that we're not necessarily doing our job properly. If my colleague from Ward 6 has some questions that he feels needs added, I don't think 2 weeks after we've identified a few months back that this should have been taken care of is going to matter. And let's get all our questions out there. It's all about full disclosure. So let's not do any shortcuts. Let's get this done, but let's make sure everybody's comfortable that the questions are being answered, because that's what it's all about. We all have fair questions at different points. Let's respect that. Thank you.
Councilor Magan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo the sentiments of Council Matusky. Like I said, this has been on for a few weeks now, so this isn't nothing new to us, all these people, just because of a clerical thing. I understand that, but certainly people had ample time. I think it's probably been over a month, maybe 5 weeks since these names originally came in front of us. So I certainly, you know, if anybody had any questions or concerns, the stuff in our charter that explains what, you know, what the responsibility of everybody is and so forth, other than, like I said, the clerk saying that stuff had to be staggered and so forth. I mean, I see no reason to delay it, and like I said, to keep bringing people back up here, and, I mean, I don't question any of these people, but certainly the council has a right to get some questions answered, which he asked, the chief of staff for, and I'm sure next meeting he'll have those answers for it, but, I see no reason to delay. Thank you.
This is the second time around now, so, Councilor McKinnon? Okay, Councilor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, with regards to the point, I would echo Councilor Napolitano's position on this. You know, I feel badly that folks have had to come up. It has been on and off and on and off. Technically, this is the first time it's been in front of us. This is the first time you're reading these things and actually debating to vote them. Everyone on this list, these are all quality people. I have no question in my mind that they will be appointed, and they deserve to be appointed. A lot of folks on here work very hard for the city. However, that said, the rules do say that it either goes to a committee, we can suspend it if we want to, but out of courtesy to a colleague, if a colleague has a question before they're going to vote on a piece, I'm going to extend the courtesy, because there's going to come a time when I want a courtesy on a piece that I need to vote intelligently on. So the council's free to do what they want to do. I personally will be asking to lay it over.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to question my colleagues' intentions, but to say that I had ample amount of time to do my homework and I didn't do my job as a city councilor is offensive to me. Secondly is, this is the first time these appointments have been before us. I stated that every person on this calendar is a decent human being who deserves to be appointed and will be appointed. We have a few technicality questions regarding the formality of boards and commissions. Not about any one individual. The two gentlemen that sit in the back of the room happen to be very dear friends of mine. Both individuals are good quality people in our community, and I would vote on their appointments this minute. But it's not about an individual. It's about the whole structure of the boards and commissions. That's all my questions are regarding. But to state that I had ample amount of time and didn't do my homework is offensive. Thank you.
Councilor Delasola?
President, I just have a question. If there's 4 or 5 questions for the chief of staff, if they could be answered tonight, if he feels they could be answered tonight, would that be a possibility to answer the question?
I'm sorry, go, start over, please.
Council McLaughlin had 4 or 5 questions he wanted to ask the chief of staff. If they could be answered tonight, if he felt comfortable answering these questions tonight, and then if Council McLaughlin's satisfied with those answers, both parties are happy here, we can vote on it tonight. If he'll feel comfortable answering the 5
Councilor
questions.
McLaughlin asked that if he come back next week, there was nothing important to affect the appointments. But anyway, thank you very much. Okay. I have Councilor DeFlorio next. Councilor DeFlorio?
Mr. Chairman, on item number 20, I believe
I got
that
it.
maybe it was cut off. So we need to add David O'Brien, and it's Public Works. I believe that's what the city clerk told me.
Got it.
And I don't know what the year is for that. We need to also add the year on it, the term. For 1 year. And the other question is, are we able to vote on this tonight? And if not, instead of going to committee, why don't we just lay it over to the next meeting, and then the council can ask us questions?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen until the council finally makes a decision on it. Okay, so.
What's the appropriate?
What's the appropriate for this? Do we lay it over for 2 weeks, or are we able to vote on it tonight?
Under
That's
our
my
rules, you
question.
lay it
Only
over
if
for
you
2
suspend
weeks.
the rules.
Under our rules.
Under our rules.
Yeah.
But under the charter, is there anything in the charter that says we have to wait 2 weeks for these appointees?
No,
No.
you can,
It's a rule of the city council.
It's only the rule. So,
City charter says May,
May, okay, so.
not
my-
shall.
So my question, my recommendation was, the first was to take items 2 through 50 collectively. Well, first suspend Rule 20.
Did you? That's already been asked.
That motion was already made,
That
so
motion was already
that's what we should be voting on right now.
Let
And
me
then,
Johnny back out. There's a question on Rule 20, Mr. President.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that, we
Something,
want to clarify the rule first.
If you're laid over for 2 weeks, then in 2 weeks, you cannot send it to committee. You must vote on it in 2 weeks. I will. Rule 20, Section A, subsection A, with the exception of public safety, police, and fire, appointments that require city council approval at the first reading of an order for a mayoral appointment requiring city council.
Councilors, you're having a discussion up there while we're trying to explain Rule 20, so please pay attention.
Requiring city council confirmation, such order shall be referred to the city council committee charged with legislative oversight of the appointees, department, board, or commission, which of course would be, government operations. Subsection B, said committee shall meet, discuss the appointment, and report their recommendation back to the full city council at their next regular meeting.
Okay.
So they have to meet between now and the next meeting and have them come out. Right.
So then I'm going to withdraw my motion and make a motion because we can't vote on it tonight, to refer it to the next meeting.
You can vote on it tonight.
We can open on it tonight, okay.
By
then I'll-
But you have,
I'll let-
you
I'm
have to,
sorry.
you have to suspend the rules.
Okay, so I will make it so that we do vote on it tonight.
All right, I have, third time around, Councilor McKinnon.
I just had my answer right there read to me, so thank you very much.
All right, then, Councilor Matusky.
Thank you. You know, it was suggested by Councilman that we're making shortcuts here. And full disclosure, I don't, that, you know, that the inferences that we're doing something wrong, these are simple appointments. Now, I shouldn't say simple, these are important appointments. And there's no reason to delay it. The councilman that brought up the question on whether to have 5 question answers said he'd be happy to hear from him in 2 weeks. The motion was made, Mr. President, to suspend Rules 20, appoint these people who have been on the agenda for the last 3 meetings. I'm not trying to make any shortcut here. I've read, they've been reading these names now for a month and a half, Mr. President. These people have been up here, now they're not here this evening, but they've been in here in the last couple of meetings. And I don't see, but to say there's some full disclosure of what? Like there's some kind of a negativity here on shortcuts. You know, and the more I start to read about this charter thing, I'm kind of glad we downsized the city council. But the truth of the matter is, you know, we've got to move along here. I've been in office less than 3 months. I've had 6 committee meetings. I'm up here once a week, twice a week. Not that I mind, but, you know, you can't just keep sending things to committee. I've never heard of such a thing. These are simple requests, a simple appointment. There's no shortcut being taken by me here tonight. There's no full disclosure, whatever that means. These are appointments to non-paying appointments. I don't get it. So I'm prepared to vote in favor of these appointments tonight, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to, that's okay. I just wanted to comment. I have seen Councilor McLaughlin's questions prior to the meeting, and it's my opinion that they're technicality questions. From what I see, these appointments are staggered, and I don't think any answer to his questions are going to impact a decision that we will make on these appointees, so I am comfortable voting for this evening. Thank you.
I just want to make it very known that I did not go after any individual this evening. I did not say that any one individual is not qualified to serve on one of these boards and commissions. All it was some questions, right? We have a historical time in the city of Everett. In the next 3 to 5 years, the city of Everett is going to change, and is going to change more than we've ever seen before. I just want to know what the boards and commissions' responsibilities are, what they're doing, because we don't always get down the hall to be able to attend meetings, because mostly they're on the same nights of our city council meetings. We're transforming the city of Everett over the next 3 to 5 years, and most of the people on this list tonight are going to be directing the city of Everett's change in the future. Those were really my only questions. It wasn't about an individual. I don't want anybody to leave this room this evening thinking that I'm against one person on this board and these boards and commissions. happens to be one of my best friends, is one of the appointees tonight. But to say that I'm against individuals on here is false. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. In an attempt to get some harmony here in answers, if the questions are technically about operation of the bodies versus qualifications, then we can see if it's something that we could vote on them.
Just so everybody will know what the questions are.
That'd be great.
One, how many members on each board? Thank you very much, my button pusher. How many members on each board, commission, and council? Question two, how many members are serving and are not required to be reappointment? Question number three, what are the duties of each board, commission, council, et cetera? Just a thumbnail sketch. Number four, do all boards, commission, council, et cetera, have a term of 3 years? Number five, are all boards, commissions, councils, et cetera, for more or less than 3 years? Are all boards, commissions, council, and so forth being appointed this meeting? Those are the questions. Nothing is... Right, but listen, going on too much. He asked for it to be done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks it'll come back. We'll know the answers. It has nothing to do with the appointments. Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Council McLaughlin. Whereas those are more technical questions about the operation of the boards versus the caliber of the folks here, I want to make sure we don't shortchange a colleague. If he's okay with getting his answers with regards to the functioning of the body versus voting for the folks, then I would be comfortable voting for the folks this evening. If he's not comfortable voting with it, he needs information as a courtesy to a colleague, then that's the way I would vote. So through the chair, if we could inquire of our colleague, if, given that it's technical in nature, if he's uncomfortable with this going forward this evening without those questions being answered. If he isn't, perhaps, I know our charter says that when we have an invited guest, they need 7 days' notice. If he is uncomfortable, perhaps if our chief of staff, or the mayor's chief of staff, is comfortable answering those questions tonight, we could just move the whole process this evening. But just leave it at that. And
I won't ask him, but if he wants to volunteer that information, okay, as soon as Councilor Simonelli has his say. Councilor Simonelli.
Call for the... Sorry, I apologize. Can we call for the question? That's what Councilor Simonelli.
Very good. Call for question, okay. I have to take a vote on that, right? Yes. Yeah, motion call for question. Second? All in favor of calling for the question? Aye, okay. The question that we have right before us right now is that we have a motion for suspend Rule 20, and I'm not too sure if it was seconded or not.
Second motion.
It was seconded. The other thing would be, if not for that, then we would just let it stay in, automatically get referred to committee. But where we have suspended Rule 20, I'm going to ask now for a vote of all from item 1 through item 50. I'm sorry, from item 2 through item 50.
Point of procedure. Okay, we have a motion to waive the rule, and we have a second. We do not have a vote in agreement of the body to waive the rule. We need to do that first, and then we can proceed with voting on the item.
Well, we have a motion on the question, didn't we?
We did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, folks, on the question. All in favor of the question?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So then we'll go back to the motion itself, and the motion is to suspend Rule 20?
We already did.
No, suspend Rule 20, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now I'll ask for favorable action on the amendment, on
As
the
amended
appointments.
on item number 20.
With the amendment on item number 20?
That's-
It's not really, it's just a misprint. So, on item number 2 through 50, all in favor?
Roll
Roll
call.
call vote. Answer the roll.
Council Capone.
yes.
Council Del Sol.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council DePiero.
Yes.
Council Mangan.
Yes.
Council Matusky.
Yes.
Council McKinney.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Simonelli.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes?
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
Could we have reconsideration on that?
Second.
No second on reconsideration.
No second on
I just
reconsideration?
seconded.
It was seconded by
Second.
Napolitano?
Speak up. Motion made and second for reconsideration. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Reconsideration has been moved. Okay.
Take 53, so those people can...
Make a motion to suspend the rules, take items number 53.
Wait, we just had reconsideration, we brought it back out. Now it's back on the floor.
No, you just put,
He's correct.
well,
He's correct. Yeah. On the motion,
Yeah, it should be a roll call anyhow.
make a motion for favorable action.
Motion on reconsideration. A yes vote brings it back up before you. A no vote in reconsideration fails. Counselor Capone.
No.
Counselor Delasola.
No.
Counselor DeFlorio.
no.
Counselor DePiero.
No.
Counselor Mangan.
No.
Counselor Matusky.
No.
Counselor McKinnon.
No.
Counselor McLaughlin.
No.
Counselor Napolitano.
No.
Counselor Simonelli.
No.
Counselor Hanlon.
No.
0 yeas, 11 nays. Reconsideration has failed, Mr. President.
Okay. Clerk will go to item number... 53. Would you say 53?
Yes.
Motion made and seconded to suspend our rules and take item number 53. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 53 is before us.
Item number 53 is petition for a lodging house license from David A. Marley, DBA Fennos at 336 Broadway.
Refer to the government in operation
Community and Business
Community
Development.
Business Development.
Oh, community and business, I'm sorry.
Motion to refer to business development, and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You have referred item number 53 to community development. Okay. Clerk will read item 51 from the agenda.
Item number 51, petition for a second-class motor deal license from Malden Auto Body, 87 Broadway.
We did item?
Everything's all set, yeah.
Okay. And who was doing that? Okay. I'm sorry, where are we now?
We're on item number 51. Favorable action has been moved, Mr. President.
Motion for favorable action, motion made and second for favorable action. Councilman Simonelli.
This one? Say that? So yours.
51, yeah.
51. No.
No?
I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. Motion then for favorable action, item 51. All in favor? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Capone. Yes. Counselor Delasola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Counselor Mangan.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
11 yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the petition. Item number 52.
Chairman, I think we have to suspend the rules and take items 52 and 54 collectively.
We do?
Motion to take item 52 and 54 collectively. They're two different things. Councilman Simonelli?
We'd like to, Mr. President, would like to suspend the rules and take number 57 off the agenda.
Well, we're, all right. Motion made and second to take item 57 off the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? Item 57 has been stricken from the agenda.
Not stricken, I think he just wanted to suspend the rules. And Item number 57 is a resolution sponsored by Councilor Stephen Simonelli to incorporate a reverse 911 for its original intent to inform the people of ever the real issues like emergencies that come up unexpectedly, any kind of crime, violence, house break-ins, severe weather conditions, streets blocked off due to shootings, fires, water breaks, need a detour route for a whole city, not just certain areas. It's not the intent to be used just for social reasons, corporations, and/or political gains. And that's it.
Okay. Now, Councilor Simonelli?
Mr. President, would the clerk please read the comments allowed by the chief of police?
He wants the chief of police before.
Do I have something here? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. To Council Simonelli, in reference to item CEO 116, to incorporate reverse 911 for its original intent, etc., the City of Everett utilizes a community notification system in various ways, as you state. It has been used by police, fire, border health, city services, and many other departments for official notifications. It is not designed to be used exclusively for emergencies. Over the years, it has been used for various events, community issues, and a wide variety of important community notifications such as street closures, water main breaks, storms, etc. We try to balance the use of the system for the wide range of notifications that are needed without resorting to using it for everything that happens, as the average person would not listen to the messages after a while. I hope this helps to clarify the purpose of the system for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time.
We are not satisfied with the explanation on this important matter, and with all respect to Chief Mazie, we would please ask him to come forward.
Motion made and seconded to have Chief of Police Mazie come forward. All in favor? All opposed? Chief, would you please? Okay. Name and address, Chief.
Good evening. Steve Mazie, Chief of Police.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Counselor Simonelli would just like to know, why aren't we using reverse 911 on more important issues other than community service issues?
Well, first of all, the term reverse 911 is a brand, is a company brand. That's not what we have in our city. The second thing is it's a community notification system. It's not just for emergencies only. It's for all kinds of notifications that you want to get out to the community. So I can really only speak from my end, the public safety end. We would not be putting one of these out every time we had a car break, or we wouldn't be put one of these out every time we had a car break, for example, because we put, you'd be putting out one a day potentially, and we want people to pay attention to them when they do come out. So we look to strike a balance on, we think, the important issues that we need to get out. And then there's other means of communication as well. We pump out information to the people in our community via different sources, and this is just one of many.
So, Counselor Simonelli would also like to know, is there a better way that we could implement reverse 911 so that all people could be informed as to what's going on in the city for public safety issues that they may want to know?
Well, I think, regarding public safety, instead of reverse 911 or community notification via phone, the best way to stay abreast of public safety issues, police in particular, is to go on our Facebook page. And we put a lot of information on there every day. As a matter of fact, we've become the second most popular Facebook outside of Boston PD in metropolitan Boston. So you can find a ton of information. I encourage anybody to go on there. We put a little bit of everything on there every day.
Okay. And then lastly, Counselor Simonelli would please like to know, is there any other important issues such as political issues or corporation issues that are being utilized through this official forum? And he's sick and tired of hearing it.
Well, again, I'm not the one that puts out these messages all the time. It's a community, it's a city system. So there's various people that work for the city that put these out. I'm usually only involved in public safety type events and issues. So I really can't answer that question.
Write it down. So, what can we do in the future? And we want action to ensure that the public is informed.
So when he says the public informed, of which particular issues?
I think he said any important issues such as shootings and any murder or anything of the sort.
Well, for example, a shooting, for example, because that's a high level of importance, all you have to do is watch Channel 4, 5, 7, or Fox News, and that's usually covered there.
He says, we would like this information on the reverse 911 system, not TV. One more time.
Sure. Well, we wouldn't, in the middle of a shooting, for example, we're looking actively for suspects, we wouldn't be putting that out immediately. Officers are gonna be going out looking, for example, at the description of a car or bad guys, et cetera, and doing that stuff. That's not normally how we handle business. If there was a reason to put something out, for example, we notify, and it wouldn't go out citywide, like we would notify a school. If we were looking for a suspect in a neighborhood that encompassed a school, we would notify the school so the school could go into lockdown mode. But we wouldn't be calling the whole city for something that happened, for example, on the other side of the city. It would be a waste of time.
Why not? Why not inform the rest of the city?
It would be a waste of time. Well, that's a matter of opinion, I guess.
Again, 911 is used less. Useless.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor DeFlorio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe instead of calling it reverse 911, we should call it 316 or something. like
It's
other
a
cities
community,
and
it's a
towns.
community notification
Yeah.
system.
But
It's not,
anyways,
it's
that's-
not, reverse 911 used to be a system. That's not what we use. It's community notification. Communities, big cities, small towns use them for a variety of uses similar to what we're using them for.
The question I actually have is, hypothetically, if something was happening in my neighborhood, if there was a shooting in my neighborhood, and you felt that somebody was in, whether my backyard or my neighborhood backyard, the police would be there to tell us that there's that problem. So you wouldn't need to call us on the phone, is that correct?
Well,
You would have the
shooting-
policeman in the area to warn people if there's a problem. I don't want people to get scared and nervous out there.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Right, so, God forbid there was a shooting, you would have the police officers in that area to warn people to make sure they stay in their home. Is that
well, a
correct?
couple things. A shooting, for example, first of all, we don't have a lot of shootings, but if there was a shooting, the area is going to be saturated with police. The other thing is on gunfire now, we have shot spotter activation system, so we know where a lot of our shots fired are taking place, and the officers are there immediately. If there's a threat to the public or to a specific neighborhood, they're going to take the appropriate action to let the neighbors know that. But those are very rare circumstances where something like that happens. I mean, I can't remember the last time. It doesn't happen much where, for example, a suspect gets into a house. It just doesn't happen a lot.
Right, but I just want.
They want to get out of the area.
Right. I
If
just
someone's
want
wanted
the people
by
to
us,
understand
they
that
don't
if
want to
anything
hunker down and hang
happens-
around.
yeah. If anything happens in their neighborhood, that there would be police officers there to let them
There
know.
would be.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Napolitano?
Thank you. Chief, I thank you for coming up. I mean, I don't remember, it was a couple of years ago, we received a notification over the phones about a small child being found in a neighborhood.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
think that was a
that-
couple, that was probably less than a year ago, yeah.
Right,
Yep.
and that sounds like that's exactly what the purpose
Sure.
of the system
Yep.
is. I just have one question. Who is responsible for managing the community notification system?
Well, there's a number of people who have access to the system. So the communications people in City Hall have it. We have some access to it. I believe Fire does. I mean, there's been a number of people throughout the years who have had access, depending on their role in the city.
But is there any one person or department that's responsible overall of seeing the overall operation? Or is it something that you just kind of all go into?
Well, a lot of it came out
as you
of
need?
communications, the people that run ECTV and the communications, a lot of it comes out of there. It has come out of there.
I mean, I think one thing that might alleviate any concerns might be is that if there's one overall department, or if it's communications, fine, responsible for overseeing it. Of course, I don't mean in any way of depriving police and fire access. You have emergencies, sometimes you gotta get information out. You don't have the time to chase somebody down to get permission. I get that. That's not an issue. But ultimately, you know, especially in this day and age where we get, I mean, I work in telecommunications, with, auto dialers and everything else, people are getting worn down by the service. So
Correct.
even legitimate use of it, it numbs them. They no longer pick up the phone because they don't know what that call is about. And that's unfortunate because that's not anything that the city's doing. But, that's the public. That's what's happening
We
out
found,
there.
Counselor, lessons learned, for example, from the marathon bombing, social media, in a crisis, social media is a way to go. Facebook, Twitter, that's what people are on. They're not, as you know, hardlines are dying in homes anyways. A lot of people, especially young people, they don't even have a hardline telephone in their house. So people are on mobile phones, but that's how they're getting their information on Facebook and Twitter. That's how a lot of people communicate with us now. It's not via phone. And again, we pump out, if you are interested in what's going on from a public safety standpoint, I encourage you to go on Facebook. We put postings on every day in our city on happenings.
And I'm on Facebook myself, but I think Councilman's concerns are that a lot of our seniors who are technology shy,
Yep.
their main resource is going to be that landline phone. And statistically, there's actually less of a diminish from landlines because of the enhanced 911 services than most people, than the public is actually aware of. I've read several studies just by virtue of my job. But that's neither here nor there. It's about making sure that you're able to get the information out to everybody.
Sure.
And, I just think the concern in there is that the system might potentially be, overseen a little bit differently, or at least the perception of it addressed. But I myself, like I said, I remember that call. I think getting information out to the public's important. We know when there's going to be street issues down on Ferry Street, when the construction was going on. So, okay. All right, well, like I said, I just wanted to get an idea who was ultimately responsible for management.
Councilor
Thank
McLaughlin?
you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the Chief of Police. Chief, on this type of a thing, Christmas Eve day, we had a serious incident down on Summer Street. Was there a 911 reverse call that went out to the residents to kind of calm everybody down and let everybody know the individual incidents?
I offhand, I don't recall. I don't remember. I don't know.
That's, in my opinion, what we really should be using this for. I believe that it is good to get out other community messages, but particularly at my house, we don't even answer the phone anymore when the city of Everett comes up, because it's going to be some sort of community involvement, engagement type of an event, not a serious incident like what happened on Christmas Day, to let neighbors know what is taking place so that people's minds are at ease. That brings back the main issue of what I think reverse 911 should be used for. Our community communication should be used for, is for those types of incidents, so that we can put people's minds at ease on an incident like that. But overall, I think the purpose of it is good. I just wish we could streamline the more use of why it's in place, but I thank you for your time.
Okay.
Councilor Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President, to the Chief of Police. I notice when we do get these community service calls, it says the City of Everett. Do you have like police, you hear that, it's going to be an invitation to some kind of community event and this type of thing. Do you use something different, like 911, this is the police department?
So if it's a police-related issue, they usually will say it's the City of Everett and the Everett Police Department.
Oh, they'll
Those
say
type of
that
messages. It's a
verbally?
combination.
The caller ID, the part that comes up on your phone will say City of Everett. Will it say the police department?
No, you'll get the same thing.
Well, see, a lot of people are desensitized due to the large amounts. I think this is what Councilman Simonelli's getting at. The police should have its own, if I saw something that said 911, or, emergency type of thing, or from the fire department or police, really, I would take more of a heightened interest in the call itself, But that's just one of my, and the other question I have, just before I left for tonight's meeting, I got a call, it said private call on my caller ID, and they said, Mr. Matusky? I says, yes, we're calling on behalf of the Everett Police Department. Do you have I know this is okay, well, somebody's soliciting money in Everett. But you know what bugs me, Chief, is, when you see I have that block on it, you have to put your number down. I don't know how private comes up, Mr. President, but, so I said to myself after I hung up, I said, no, I do my own thing with the police department, but why wouldn't it say Everett Police? If I know that, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but, these aggravating phone calls, I think the councilman stated it earlier that, these robocalls that, a solicitation, people are getting bombed with them. I have a piece on here, Mr. Chief of Police. Actually, I'm going to refer it to your office. According to me, the city clerk, you were in charge of solicitations. People going door to door. And I've got an issue with that. I don't want to bring it up now, but I think that you should maybe look at, if it's coming from the police department where it's a more serious matter and something that neighborhood should be aware of, criminally or a threat of whatever, maybe people would take a more partial interest in receiving that phone call, rather than just say the city of Everett, because, I don't know, monthly, especially during the winter, snow removal efforts and so forth, you see that continually on your phone. Of course, I thought it was the mayor calling me to discuss matters most of the time, but it would 9 out of 10 times be snow removal or this type of thing. I just thought that maybe that would be a better way to go about this. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple, just to respond to some of your comments. The police department doesn't solicit money from anybody. The unions may have a company involved, but I don't even, they're supposed to put a public notice out that they're engaged with somebody to do that. I'm unaware of that, if that's the case. The issues you bring up are some of the very reasons why we don't use these systems as much for our issues, because it is problematic and people don't pay attention. In regards to the Christmas Day incident, I mean, we had that neighborhood locked down fairly quickly, and if it was a 70-degree day, everyone was outside. People knew what was going on. It wasn't a secret what was happening. I mean, the police were engaged in an issue with someone in a home. We're not going to get on a 911 a reverse phone call, a community notification, say, by the way, we're dealing with an emotionally disturbed person, he's done this to us, we're trying to do this. We're not gonna, that's not what we're gonna do. We wouldn't do that. Unless there is a threat to other people, or we're looking for somebody who we believe maybe got into a home, something like that, we just wouldn't get into that kind of detail. We're not gonna, if we have shots fired at 3 o'clock in the morning, we're not gonna wake up the whole neighborhood and say, by the way, so we just had shots fired, get out of bed and look around you. We don't want people coming out of the house. We want them staying in the house locked up. I mean, that's how we would operate. All right? Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. No further questions? Chief, thank you
Okay,
very
good.
much. Appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
Question?
Yep. The people lose out again. Motion to refer back to sponsor.
Motion second, refer back to sponsor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, you have referred back to sponsor. Clerk will read item number 1.
Item number 1, in order sponsored by Councilor John F. Handler is present, to accept a $200 donation from Jack McGrath to the Office of Human Services Emergency Services Program.
Mr. President, and a letter of thanks be sent to Mr. McGrath.
Second?
Motion made and second for favorable action and a letter to be sent. Clerk
President.
will call the roll after.
Thank you. Just on this piece real quickly. Just on this piece real quickly. We all know Jack McGrath. He's a great guy. And think about it. His name comes up on our agendas quite a bit about donations. So he's a great guy, and we as a city appreciate all he does for us. So I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Clerk, call the roll.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Del Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
11 yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order. We're on number
51.
52? We're on 52.
Item number 52, petition for a large house license for David A. Molly, DBA 134 Linden, at 134 Linden Street.
Councilman Mangan?
Thank you, Mr. President. Not that they need to hear me. Mr. Clerk, I know there were some issues with the other gentleman on the other piece. Is there anything on this concern?
We've not received any complaints, anything from the neighbors, no.
Okay, thank you.
In regards,
Motion for favorable action,
I'm
Councilor
sorry, on the
DeFlorio.
motion. Through you, Mr. Chairman, through the clerk, if there were any problems with these issues, the police department does give you a copy,
Yes,
is that
and
correct?
there's-
Okay,
This is not a problem property at this point,
okay.
where the other one is.
No, I know the answer to that, but I was asked by certain people, well, how do you know if there's no problems? And I just want to clarify it. Thank you.
Okay, if there was one, I didn't hear it. Second? Second. Motion made and second for favorable action. Clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Capone. Yes. Counsel Del Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr.
11
President.
yeas, 0 nays, you have passed the order. Clerk will read item number 54.
Item number 54, an order sponsored by Counsel John F. Hanlon, President, petition for a second-class motor dealer license from White's Auto Sales at 79 Vine Street.
Favorable action on the order.
Second.
Motion second, favorable action. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by answering the roll.
That was good.
Good save. Counsel Capone. Yes. Counsel Del Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
11
Mr.
yeas,
President.
0 nays, you have passed the order. Clerk will read item 55.
Item number 55 is an invite from the Council on Aging to Senior Health Fair on March 29th at the Conley Center.
Accept the communication, place on file.
Motion made second to place the communication on file. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, you have accepted the communication. Did I have another, I thought I had another communication here, I guess not.
Item number 56 is a committee report from the Committee on Ways and Means on an order to transfer and appropriate $128,000 for the budgetary fund balance into the Market Street culvert account with a recommendation to report back to the City Council with a recommendation for favorable action.
Councilman Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we had a meeting tonight regarding this issue. It has to do with flooding on the Parkway, Cottage Street. And the city engineer, Mr. President, has really done some good work, and it's going to stop the flooding in these areas of Everett that have been flooded for many, many years, at least 35 years that I know of, complaints. And I had a brief discussion with him in the hallway tonight. There's some issues on Gladstone Street regarding the Richie Slush manhole. A house was flooded just the other day on Gladstone Street. And so we really need this to be fixed and repaired, and I'm very happy to support this. And I want to thank the city engineer for all the work he's doing on this issue. So I ask for favorable action. Thank you.
Motion made, second for favorable action. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Capone. Yes. Counsel Del Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counsel DePiero.
Yes.
Counsel Mangan.
Yes.
Counsel Matusky.
Yes.
Counsel McKinnon.
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano.
Yes.
Counsel Simonelli.
Yes.
Counsel Hanlon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
You passed the order, but we failed to get the, failed to accept the committee report, so motion made, second to accept the committee report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Committee report has also been accepted. Item 58.
Item number 58, resolution sponsored by Council John Leo McKinney to invite Police Chief or his representative in the sale or waste of measures to attend Government Operations Public Safety and Service Committee discussed the scams going on at gas stations in the area.
Refer to government operations.
Oh, go ahead. Who?
Government operations.
Motion made and seconded to refer to government operations. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? You have referred. Item number 59.
Item number 59, the resolution sponsored by Council Rosa DeFlorio, requested the mayor appear at the committee of whole meeting to explain the master plan for the city of Everett.
Councilor DeFlorio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we know, the last couple of meetings, we have discussed Everett Square, Norwood Street, and I know the mayor has a master plan for the city, but I want him to come up to explain it so that we can also give some input. But unfortunately, I believe that this should be an item where it should be alone, and everybody should be interested in something like this, and that's why I said as a committee as a whole. I didn't want to send it to a committee with 2 or 3 people are interested, ask the questions, and the rest of us don't, because I don't think it's fair. And building Everett Square, doing Norwood Street, that's very important to all of us, I believe, as a whole. So that's my recommendation, please.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to refer to the committee of the whole. You invite the mayor also? And to invite the mayor?
Yes.
And to invite the mayor to attend?
The mayor, but it's also Tony Souza from Community Development.
Okay.
And whoever else the mayor feels that has done the master plan. I don't know who the person would be. I know they've had numerous meetings.
Planning department probably and everything.
Right.
But,
So I know they've had numerous meetings, but unfortunately, people have to understand that sometimes the meetings, we're at other committee meetings, and we can't be in 2 places at once. So unfortunately, with the meetings that they've had with the master plans, I personally, I can't speak for anybody else, I think I was only able to make 1. So,
all right, so then the motion would also be to include Mr. Souza and also to ask the mayor to also invite anyone that could explain some facets of this master plan. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Clerk will read item number 60.
Item number 6, a resolution sponsored by Council Frank Capone, representative from Community Development, appear at the next meeting of the council to discuss the progress of Florence Street Park.
Councilor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, this project has been moving at a snail's pace. The residents in the area are frustrated. The park has not been used for quite some time. We did have Mr. Souza from Community Development before us last year. We got a revised schedule of the park, and as of December, it was supposed to be 40% complete on the revised schedule. We're not there. I'd like to lay this on the table to our next meeting and invite a representative from Community Development and a representative from the mayor's office to give us an update on the status at the park and when we could expect to get it to a position where the residents could actually use it.
Motion to lay this over for the next meeting, inviting a member from Community Development and His Honor the Mayor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? You have referred to the next meeting. Was that the last? Oh, no, we got more to go. Okay, yeah. Item 61.
Item number 61, resolution sponsored by Council Michael Mangan, that His Honor the Mayor and the city solicitor appear at the next meeting to update the city in regards to the power plant tax situation.
Councilor Mangan?
I don't think we can.
Thank you, Mr. President. We know last year we had a couple attorneys, including former Governor Weld here, and we met in an executive session, and so, I mean, I just want to get an update. It's been a while. I believe it was probably last spring sometime that we had them in here, and there's some ongoing negotiations. I don't know if it can be made public or not, but I'd like to, and I don't know, Mr. President, if it's through the will of the body, too, if this is something that, again, would be better off going into a committee of the whole, or just having, because I don't know how much time this is going to take up. So, especially if we had guests here, people, at next meeting, so I'll leave it up to the body, but certainly, I'd just like to get an update, and if it's possible, and if we have to go into executive session, we'll go into executive session.
Okay, did you want the mayor and the city solicitor?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor McKinnon?
Mr. President, I believe that was supposed to be done in executive session until it was supposed to be coming out. So I don't know how we would go about doing it. And just
No,
a
that's
question through you.
It's not to go into, it was a suggestion for the committee to go into executive
Okay.
session, not us, and not to direct the committee. The committee has to decide. Okay,
Thank you.
okay. So all in favor of that motion?
on the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rosa DeFlorio.
On the motion, I know, I gotta be careful how I say this. If there's a lawsuit going on, we can't ask questions. So to have the mayor come here, and then we ask the wrong questions, I think this is, I personally don't want to go against my colleague. That's not, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just afraid that we may ask the wrong questions. So my recommendation is, the only question I would refer to the mayor is this lawsuit over, or is it still going on? And he can give it to us in writing. Then if it is still going on, I don't believe we should bring it up. If it's over, then the mayor can come and explain it. Any other meeting.
Councilor
I'm just
Mangan?
trying to protect the,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully, certainly value the opinion of my colleague from Ward 5. Sam, we did this before, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President, is that we had the mayor and the solicitor come in front of us, and I believe the solicitor, Ms. Mahir at the time, said, you know, it's an ongoing situation, we can't discuss in public. We made a motion, we went back into executive session, and we discussed it at length in executive session. That's all I'm asking. I certainly don't want to ask questions out here in front of the public, if we can't. But if the city solicitor says that it's still an ongoing situation, I just want to say at that time, we can at least go in the back, in executive, make a motion to go into executive session, and then, and discuss it, you know, in executive session, out of the public eye.
The motion I have before me now is just to refer this to the committee of the whole. That's all. Okay. I have no second on that motion. I have a second on the motion. Councilman Napolitano.
Actually, that was what my suggestion as a compromise was. Let's have this to a committee of the whole, and then adjourn to executive session, so we can ask the questions, protect the city's legal interests, get the information we need, and also be reminded of our need to maintain strict confidentiality on those issues, because it's an ongoing legal issue.
And also, I have no second on your subsidiary motion. So unless there is no motion, okay. Main motion was to refer this to the committee of the whole. All in favor? All opposed? Refer to committee of the whole. Item number 62, please. Oh, it is? Oh, it is? Well, we understand now that the lawsuit is still pending. So, all right.
Number 62, a resolution sponsored by Councilor Wayne A. Matusky, Chief of Police and/or City Clerk, and instruct auditor solicitors, in particular, energy companies to act in a more professional manner when conducting their business due to many complaints.
Councilman Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, over the last, I don't know, it's been going on for a couple of years now. You know, I have the highest respect for salesmen trying to sell something. Going door to door. In the old days, it was vacuum cleaners, pots and pans, and Girl Scout cookies. You don't mind that, you know?
Bibles.
Candy, Bibles, well, Death of a Salesman. That was a good movie, by the way. But we're not in the Bible Belt. But the truth of the matter is, Mr. President, we've got an issue here. And I don't know if it's just my neighborhood or throughout the city. We have people that are ringing doorbells, okay? So, you know, I don't know if I'm getting older or what here, but I'm getting aggravated more and more about these solicitation things. So you go to your door, and I'm not that old or young, whatever, you know, normal. You go to your front door, there's nobody there. So now you've got to go out of your door. The guy's 2 doors down that rang your bell with a clipboard. Hello, what do you want? He's trying to switch your electric company to a different energy source or whatever. This has just been going on crazy. And it's not just me. I had an elderly woman. She fell down the stairs and looking for somebody at a doorbell because he rang it twice. There's nobody there. Now I understand, Mr. President, through my brief discussion with the chief of police, that he isn't giving anybody authority. He says he's having a lot of trouble with these solicitors, ringing doorbells throughout our city, aggravating people. He has no license to give it to them. He says they're nothing but troublemakers, and he's had a difficult time with them. I mean, there is such a thing as like, let's see, you ring a doorbell, no answer, okay? And then, who knows, they might touch your doorknob to see if it's locked. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of break-ins in my neighborhood, okay? This is a serious matter, Mr. President. These people, I don't know where they come from. I know they're renting out or not. But the worst part about it is, when you sign up for these energy companies, your electricity goes up. It happened to a friend of mine. They take your social security number and everything. It takes a little time to fill out the paperwork, okay? By the time they're done and you get your next bill, geez, you're regretting that, really. But truth of the matter is, they're aggressive. And then when you come to the door, hey, what did you want? You know, like Councilman McKinnon had on the agenda the other day, the last meeting, about the assessors. Now, that's a legitimate thing, you know, because the guy's got a badge. And according to the chief, the only people that are allowed is city authorization is these assessor people or the water department, naturally. And according to our assistant city clerk and the city clerk, he is, they're gonna put something together to stop this from happening. You know, it's very aggravating. You know, I just want to add this one thing too. You know, there's a lot of older people, as we know. Now the weather's warm, so it isn't as bad, but in the middle of winter, you know, if you live in a 2-family or a 3-family, you got to come all the way down the stairs, and to find nobody at your front porch, and you're older, and then you got to go outside, so you're losing some heat, then you might fall down the stairs, and then they act as if they're doing nothing wrong, but they're 2 doors down, and they're not even supposed to be doing it, and I'd like to be, if I could have the city clerk just fill the membership in, if it's okay, Mr. President, on what he had told me briefly earlier tonight. I mean, I just want to know where we're at with this solicitation stuff.
Mr. Clerk?
Very briefly, we've been to court, myself and the assistant clerk, we've been to court with these solicitors. They do not have a permit. The chief refuses to issue any, so no one can accuse him of picking and choosing. He doesn't give any door-to-door solicitation permits. The only change in the law that we want to see is that the company be fined because the magistrate is reluctant, we found so far, to charge the worker with the fine. So they've proven to be reluctant to do that. They tell them not to do it again, everything else, and they tend not to so far. But the only change we're hoping to make in the ordinance is that the company be fined and not the individual, because the magistrate has been reluctant to assess the fine to the individual actually ringing the doorbell. So.
Okay, so if I could, Mr. President, just one question. So where are we with this?
It's still illegal without a permit.
So it's
And
illegal.
people should
So
call the police.
if somebody was to come to your door or anywhere,
Call the
whatever,
police. They have no right to
they
be
call the
there.
police and say somebody, you know,
I have an unpermitted solicitor, and you wouldn't be guessing because nobody gets a permit.
so there's no permit to anybody issued in
Nobody.
this city other than the water department or the
Right.
assessors and so
Other
forth.
than authorized city personnel.
Well, that's good news because,
Or your National Grid, who would have National Grid.
right,
or
they're
whatever,
they're
but-
doing business.
But they wouldn't be selling.
Right. Well, I think it's about time that this law is enforced in our community. As I said, Mr. President, it's a nuisance type of thing, and, you know, but I see other things. Somebody could fall down the stairs looking for these people. They're ringing doorbells 3 doors away. And it's not fair to this community. And then not only that, when you finally do talk to them, they're trying to sell you some kind of energy deal that makes no sense to me, but... Okay, so that's where we're at. Okay, so as the sponsor of this, could I send this to the city clerk, Mr. President, and have him develop whatever's necessary? Maybe, I'd like to see some advertisement in the newspaper. I'm sure anything that's well, it's been advertised. And I'd like to see some advertisement in the paper that the city of Everett allows no one to solicit. And you can be fined, or the company can be fined. And court action will take place. Thank you. I'm very happy with that.
Councilor
Thank you.
McLaughlin, sorry. Councilor McLaughlin. I know it was a long time ago, but
That's okay. It's actually really nice to be able to agree with Councilor Matusky for once. No, I'm joking. He is all seriousness. It's a very serious issue that I think needs to be addressed. Counselor had asked a couple of my questions that I was going to ask when I raised my hand, but I think this is a very serious matter that needs to be addressed, and I want to thank him for putting this piece forward, because we do need to stop these people from going door to door and basically harassing our residents across the city of Everett. So thank you, Council, for putting this issue forward tonight.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. It does go beyond a harassment issue. Council Matusky also talked about the folks that are going to doors that are not looking to sell anything, but may be looking to try to gain access. And through you to our clerk, I just have a couple of other questions. Some of them were already answered with the overview. Is it the exclusive domain of the police chief with regard to permits, or does the
Yes.
city clerk's office? It is.
Exclusively the police chief.
Okay, and the statute that we're talking about, the ordinance we're talking about, it's local rule?
Yes,
Okay, and that's what we need to amend?
that's what we need to
Okay.
amend.
Thank you. No, I wholeheartedly support this as well, because nuisance is one thing. There's some people running for office that ring doorbells, they're nuisances too. But the reality is, when you have folks going to front doors for purposes of determining whether someone's home, or to take a look, or to check to see if a door's locked, that's when you really have some serious issues. So I'm glad this piece is on, and I wholeheartedly support tightening up the ordinance. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Motion, just want to, motion is to refer this to the city clerk for him to take some action on it and newspaper advertise to Council DeFlorio.
I was just gonna tell the city clerks to please excuse, make sure that the politicians are not included. Because I like to go door knocking. when
Well,
it's-
they're not selling anything except.
Yeah, I'm
themselves,
selling
you
them
know,
to both of me, so. And also put it on ECTV. Thank you.
Mr. President, Council McKinnon and Councilwoman DeFlorio raised a good question. If the city clerk could notify ECTV that there is no one issued a license to actually solicit it, and if they are being aggressive and so forth, they should call the police. And that way there, we might be able to stop that. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
If I can make a comment on that, what happens if we say that and then the police chief gives out a permit? We won't, but, you know, just think, just think about that, okay?
All right, well,
Okay.
after speaking with him, he will definitely not issue any permits. The terms he used with me about some of these aggressive salespeople at the door is, I can't repeat it, but he's not happy with them, let's
Okay.
put it that way.
So on the motion, everybody, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, you have referred to the city clerk. Item number 63, please.
Item number 63, resolution sponsored by Council Wayne A. Matusky, electric and telephone companies update us on the progress they've made on double pole removal and replacement, especially in the area of 12 to 14 Hosmer. So residents there respectfully requesting that operations of one of the utility poles there cease and desist from operating and be removed forthwith.
Council Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Ms. McCory for putting this on the agenda this evening on my behalf. I bumped into the gentleman that lives at this address. These poles, these double poles have been there for over 10 years. I want to say 13, but I might be wrong. So 10 years these double poles have been unsightly in front of this man's home. And I can remember 4 or 5 years ago bringing in it was another councilman, I think it was Councilman McKinnon, but we had put this on the agenda, and we were promised that it would be solved. Now, I rode by there just this weekend, and I slowed down, and, 10 years is a little long, I think, to actually get some results. Then there's a guy on Hancock Street with a telephone pole in the middle of his driveway. It's been there forever. They just... we're not getting the respect from these utility companies that we should. And my suggestion is that we send this to Mr. Cameron's from National Grid is a pretty reasonable person. He's active in the community, and I think he said to me 4 years ago that he would take an interest in this issue and maybe resolve it. So let's see if we could send this to National Grid, care of Mr. Cameron, to see why these poles are still doubled up There's 2 or 3 of them, right? I mean, you know, after a while, I took my mother to the eye doctors right here across the street, Mr. President, and I'm in the office, and this gentleman, I hadn't seen him in a few years. He said, yeah, I live on Hosmer Street. Remember you put the thing on the calendar 4 or 5 years ago? I said, oh, they didn't take them down. So needless to say, I mean, this is shoveling against the tide here with them. And I know that you, Mr. President, have sponsored some new ordinances that's coming into play soon. But this particular location has got to be aggravating to the neighborhood. So I'd like to refer this to Mr. Cameron for a response back as soon as possible to let us know what the delay is on this. Thank you.
Okay, refer to, I was going to give another answer, but refer to Mr. Cameron of the electric company. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Item number 64, please.
Item number 64, resolution sponsored by Councilor Michael J. Mangan and Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin, that the City of Everett objects to the delay of the wind project and respectfully asks Somerville Mayor Joe Curtatone to consider dropping his appeal of the Chapter 91 license so the project can move forward and construction begin.
Councilor Mangan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping to get the support of all my councilors here tonight on this. Like I said, no disrespect to Mayor Curtatone, but you know, we all know over the years, Somerville's built up their city a lot. Very expensive to go live over there now, just at Assembly Row. And certainly, I don't remember anybody from the city of Everett ever objecting, whether it was environment, cars, or, you know, stuff going on over there. And I'm sure most of us, you know, utilize that, the facilities over there. I know I have more than once. So all we're looking for is just for him to be fair and really look at it from for the city's aspect. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people waiting to get work that might be out of work right now to start up construction. So there's a lot of jobs here. Most people in Everett live at or below the poverty community, I mean, at the poverty level, and we want to get people to work over here. That's what it's all about. We understand there's some environmental stuff, but that's being worked out now, and I just think that the appeal that he talked about being with traffic and so forth, I don't think that's really relevant, because they certainly have a ton of cars over on the Somerville side of the river over there. So I just like to support from all my fellow councilors here, my own Councilor McLaughlin, to have everyone just to send a letter to him, just respectfully asking that he drop his appeal of the Chapter 91 license. Thank you.
Councilor Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to amend this. I don't think there's anybody that disagrees about the wind delayment here. This should be the entire city council, you know. And you know, they had a meeting, Mr. President, with various union groups about 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday. If I didn't read the Independent newspaper, I would have never known about it, you know. And there seems to be, I know there's certain councilmen, and they've been active in the union. I have attended every hearing on that casino, in favor, of course, as a state representative, as a councilman. I've been to everything that, you know, and there's no communication to me. We don't even get it in our mailboxes up here. So either I'm getting lost in the shuffle. I didn't know about that meeting, but I was the first one there. I happened to pay my union dues at the Bricklayers Hall, not even 4 blocks from this site. And I talked to the president of the Bricklayers Union. I said, did you know anything about this union opposition to what Somerville's trying to do? He says, no, so I don't know, you know, who's doing the networking here, but I went to that, and there was carpenters there, hotel workers, Mr. President. There was a large contingency of the Everett Fire Department, the Everett Police Department, the operating engineers. Now they've stopped the project and put it on hold to pacify the city of Somerville. And, you know, this, if you recall back 10 years ago, or maybe longer, 15, Telecom City, you know, that we were supposed to get all kinds of good things happening in Everett and back at the Mellon Bank, and all this beautiful stuff was supposed to happen. Well, we haven't gotten anything. Medford's got a beautiful show going on. Somerville, geez, they came a long way. They're getting $1 million for 3 family houses now over there. And they got to complain to us. It's really not fair. So I go to this hearing, and I just made it a wing and a prayer, but you know, I wish the Wynn Group would notify, you know, the city council as to these hearings. I mean, these, you know, because of course the mayor was there, and I did see various council members there. But as a union bricklayer, I should have been invited to that. I don't get the, how the invitations go out. But let me say this about the city of Somerville. You know, they have the youngest population in the country, according to what I heard, from the age of 20 to 35. They got a beautiful new T-stop, which cost the taxpayers of this state millions of dollars, which is a nice thing, the Assembly Square area. And they got all kinds of other stuff in the oven going on. And we've got a nice thing going on that we had to go through hurdles. They gave Revere a second shot at the casino. You've had, really nobody's against it in the city of Everett. 90% of the people voted for it. And has been reported, Mr. President, by, I don't know who came up with the statement, but you couldn't get that many people to agree that they like the Red Sox in this state. But the truth of the matter is, you know, Somerville better get on the ball. I think this should be, we send a copy to the mayor, and I want to see how the Somerville City Council feels about this. I know a few of those members. And they're union people, I would imagine. This just isn't fair. Now, it's been said that the mayor is doing what they did in Boston. I know Mayor Walsh personally. I served with him in the State House. He's a great man. And what he did was they sat at a table and they figured, because Mayor Menino didn't want to, you know, he wanted it at Suffolk Downs, from what I understand. I'm not sure of that, but Mayor Walsh had a right, as a new mayor, to come in and make some changes to the betterment of Charlestown and so forth. But this mayor has been in office for years. He is supposedly good friends with the mayor of Everett. I don't get it. We're getting ripped off again, and delayment for people to get employed, carpenters and construction workers and the whole gambit. Not to mention the tax money. I was talking to one of our auditors here tonight, and it's delaying. It's costing this city a lot of aggravation and financial distress. So I'd like to see this resolution amended to mean the entire city council, and also send it to I want to hear what the city of the Somerville, are they all thinking this way? I hope not, Mr. President, because they've gotten a pretty good deal going on that side of the water there. Thank you.
Thank you. Council McLaughlin.
I would echo a lot of the sentiments that Councilor Matusky just stated as far as us having our opportunity. The opportunity to move Everett forward is at our doorstep, and Mayor Curratone should join efforts to try to make that happen, as we have done to the city of Somerville on numerous amount of occasions. I also have many friends that serve on the Somerville Board of Aldermen, and I can assure you that they don't all agree with Mayor Curratone, nor do the residents or business owners in his community. So I'm really not sure the game he's trying to play, other than the fact that he wants more money out of a group, out of a development, and the fact that he's trying to cripple our city to try to get more money out of a development is a disgrace. It's time for Mayor Curratone to end the games, work with the city of Everett, and become a good partner for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We voted 60 to 40% in favor of vote no on question 3 last year, statewide. Mayor Curratone, open your eyes and come to the city of Everett and work as collaboratively as a Commonwealth of Massachusetts, not as an independent city that you're doing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. On the motion, Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the piece, I don't have any opposition to it, obviously, but under our rules, this is a sentiment of the council, and it's Rule 18. It has to be referred to Legislative Affairs, and it is one of those rules that is not able to be suspended. So I would move that this be referred to Legislative Affairs.
What was the rule? What was the rule?
18.
Rule 18?
And it's
Okay.
not able to be
Okay.
suspended
Just
either.
want everybody to know Rule 18. Councilor Napolitano?
Yes, and I agree with that, but I would also request that the sponsors amend the piece, if they have no issue with that, to have it reflect the entire city council. I think it's important that this is an issue that we appear collectively as one voice. So I would ask that,
President, on the
through you,
motion.
I would ask that.
Councilor Magnin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Certainly, as I stated at the beginning, I didn't want to automatically put it in there without getting the feelings of my co-councilors, but I appreciate the support. I know we all feel the same about it, so I will Make an amendment, Mr. President, to add the entire city council, please.
Motion made, second, to add the entire city council. All in favor? Okay. Councilor McLaughlin?
I was just going to state simply what Councilor Megan stated, which was when we put this piece forward, we weren't sure the sentiment of the whole city council, so we put it forward to have an open discussion and hope that all of our colleagues would join in effort of standing up and saying enough is enough to the city of Somerville. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, on the motion to refer to His Honor the Mayor, Curtis, huh? Yeah, to Curtis Tone, and to ask all the councilors also to sign on to it, and its matters to be referred to the Committee on Legislative Affairs.
And also, does that say the Somerville City Council on it too?
No.
Okay, does it have to be amended before you do that?
We can do all that in committee.
Okay.
All in favor? All opposed? You have referred. Item 65.
Item number 65 is a resolution sponsored by Councilor John Leo McKinnon to discuss West Nile and the new Zika virus outbreak in government operations, public safety, and public service, to invite directors of health and city services to attend, to also inquire as to any data of where this is spreading and if there are any known cases of people traveling in and out of the United States.
Refer to government operations.
Motion
Invite
made, second,
those
to
two
refer to
parties.
Government operation. Any further discussion on the motion, Councilor?
Invite those two parties to come with information on it.
Yeah, they're already there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
all in favor? All opposed? Aye. Ayes have, you have referred to government operations. Item 66.
Item number 66, an order sponsored by Councilor John O'Fanning as president. The city council of the city of Red hereby accepts chapter 51, section 16A, the Mass General laws creating an election commission in the city of Everett.
Motion made, second, favorable action. Any further discussion? Councilor,
It can't be.
I'm sorry, McLaughlin, beat you by a second.
Yeah.
Councilor McLaughlin.
My only question was, does this have to go to committee?
Yes, it does.
And if so,
Yes.
I withdraw my motion.
should it go to government operations?
Legislative.
Legislative
Legislative
affairs.
Okay.
Make that
then-
motion, sir.
Motion then is to refer to legislative affairs. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you have referred.
Motion for
Before-
adjournment.
Before we adjourn, we also have a special committee on the opioid crisis that's headed up by Councilor McKinnon, with Councilor Magnan and McLaughlin and Councilor DePiero on the committee. I have a committee report from them. I'm not going to read it because it's 3 pages long, but it's in their boxes, right? It's in their boxes. It's in their boxes. This is not really a committee of the council, this is a special committee, so. I'm sorry, you're gonna get it in your email. Read it, a lot of information on it, and I know that they're doing a lot of work and they're going forward, especially with this new thing that the governor just signed off today. It's gonna
Congratulate
mean
him
an
on
awful
that.
lot more to what we have. And I thought, Councilor Della Solo, did you have that communication that we had?
Yes, I meant to give it to you before the
If you would,
meeting.
why don't you just read it from, just read it out.
Okay. As you all know, about 2 weeks ago, we lost a young gentleman, John Rainone. Everybody knew him, everybody loved him in Everett, overwhelming response. I just wanted to thank the school department, the school committee, all the city workers in Everett. I went to the wake and the funeral. Joe's a good friend of mine and everybody in the city. The response that I saw and how the city came together for a young gentleman that lost his life suddenly. Everett High, there was 10 football players at the church, at the cemetery. Everett High Band was there also. And it just made me so proud to be from Everett, like I always in many ways, but to see something like that by Mr. Forrester, to the school committee, to everybody in Everett, the response that they had that day was very overwhelming. I just want to thank everybody for that sad day, but well appreciate everything that went on that day.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll check the motion. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? All opposed? We have adjourned.